Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue à cette réunion du Comité permanent du Conseil sur les stratégies et politiques publiques. Il s'agit essentiellement d'une réunion où il n'y a pas de décisions finales qui sont prises, il n'y a pas de résolution, c'est plutôt des réunions d'information pour le bénéfice des membres du Conseil et du public qui veut bien nous écouter sur le site Web en direct et ou en reprise quelques heures plus tard. Alors, sans plus tarder, notre premier invité de l'Académie de sport, arts, études de l'Atlantique, M. Mathieu Martin.
J'entends rien. So last week, they announced their new program, and they're here to present their proposal and explain to us the purpose of their program. Okay, I forgot to open your mic, sorry. For tonight's presentation, as the mayor said, we have a request to make to the city. I will present what we offer as far as the project, and then I will show you why we should be accepted for the proposal, who we are, who's in charge of the project, my partners, what we can bring for you, and what you can bring to our project. And we can have a common agreement, everybody will be happy. So, really, what we offer is we have a partnership with the South Francophone, South Monique Boudreau, to have a program, sports program that will be presented in Francophone South. For next year, we already have the Odyssée High School and Madumata, and 4 junior high, the Sommet, l'Acadie Champlain, and I forget the other one, but we have 4 junior from 6 to 8. Really, it gives an opportunity for the students to choose according to their discipline. I'm in charge of hockey. We'll have dance, golf the first year. I'll explain this later on. It gives the chance to have a choice to replace a course and to be able to participate and practice their favorite sport during school hours. As I was explaining, September 2018, some sports that we presently have, hockey, soccer, we're discussing with the schools, dance with Dance KR in Moncton, and golf that will be controlled by Louis Marie Enfant in partnership with him. But really, we aim for 2019 to offer other sports. Presently, hockey goes to grade 8. It's supposed to go to high school. It didn't work that well with high school, but for the first year, we will have a pilot project with grade 8 for the first year, and then we have an agreement for 2019, and we'll go from 6 to 12 years. We'll have 6 to 8 and grade 9, and once in grade 10, what we aim is to have a team within a year or two. Same thing with other sports, soccer, dance will be from 6 to 12. They'll be able to practice their sport. So the way it will operate this year with hockey, and the young children from up to grade 8, they'll go attend school in the morning till 2 o'clock. They end schools at 2. We have a transportation, we take care of them, and we have an agreement with the district. They get in the bus, they'll come here to Dieppe, and we'll have a session on the edge 3 times a week. So it'll be sessions on ice, sport, nutrition, and Ms. McLaughlin, who's working already, she is helping us. Nutrition will have presentation on sport psychology to work with young people. On the psychological side of it, we see some burnout with young people because they're burnout. They may not have the means. We want to bring this in our sessions and give them means to manage their stress and something like that, mentally to focus on the sports that they like to practice. We also have leadership courses, some leadership courses with young people, how to help people for the future, not only in sports, but in the world in general, in life, that they be the leaders of tomorrow and be leaders for the community. And also we have sessions on drugs and alcohol to help them, not only on sports, but life in general. because it can really be, it can hinder. Alcohol can kill them, and drugs. And also what we offer some volunteer activities in the region. We bring the young people to work as volunteer in the region, and they can also learn to help in the hospital or elsewhere. The city can approach us and say we need volunteer for certain things. We need 10 children. We can certain schedule, and they can volunteer with the community. So really, the arguments to support our project, what we're asking tonight, it's the only francophone program of this kind in Atlantic. There's no one similar one in Atlantic. If there are some in Quebec, it's because it's a French province with Atlantic, but New-Brunswick is the only bilingual one. Really, we're the only French that is totally francophone. So we try to keep the children motivated in school. They are good athletes and something like that. I saw it at the junior level. They're very good. They have a chance to go to university because of their note. They're not good in school. They can't go any further. Some people play professional for 1-2 years. They get out and they don't have access. They don't have any education. We try to motivate the children to stay in school, improve their level of learning. We have tutorship program, and we want to try and keep their mark high enough. And if they play soccer, they will be accepted in the university. But if some American university where the level is higher, they can be admitted in those university in the States. What we bring is also good in sports. We've seen it recently. We talk about obesity during the last few years. It's a problem that is very well known in the world. With this project, we keep the children active. We try to encourage them to participate in the sport. And when they go to school, the young people who practice that sport will remain in good health and take the means like nutrition, something like that. On long term, they'll remain in good health, and it will help the province in general, health-wise. And what we also have is Academy New Bridge, which is Anglophone and private. They go to review 2019 compared to us. What they do, we have a program that will be in the schools from the area. That is completely private. The parents pay, and they take them out of the school system. In our case, they will already be in the region, and we try at least to counter some of those kids. If they come to Moncton and they take the Francophone children out of school, we want to take it to combat that they should take the children out. It's a program that is cheaper than a private school. Hockey program between $3,000. In the future, if we had a team, it would be $8,000 to $9,000. If I take the private school like Bishop in Sherbrooke in Quebec, or even Newbridge, you look at $20,000 and more. At the beginning, it can go as far as $40,000. We have people from the area. I see some young people. There's less service offered here. They go to Bishop, and a lot of people go to Newbridge, and the parents spend a lot of money, and the students have to leave the province. So the price is accessible to everyone. It gives an opportunity to keep them in the region, or give these young who don't have a chance because parents don't have money. They can take advantage of this program, and it's accessible to all. So who are we? Who participates in our program? Our partners is Adrien Lemay and Mathieu Martin. We're two former players from the Aigle Bleu. One of our program supervisors, Jean-François Danfous, who is now executive director for Les Aigles Bleus. He worked for the Dieppe team. The other person involved with us in the hockey program, Mr. Gilles Vallis, the coach. He gives us a lot of advice when he went through. The other person who helped us as a mentor, Pete Bellevaux, who worked with Mr. Brian Gala at the government in New-Brunswick. Pete Bellevaux helps us with training. He's a former trainer at the university level, and I work in cooperation with him, especially to prepare practices, bring something new to the young people, something he learned through his career. So really, our position at the academic level is to give an appropriate training to children in sports. We want to make sure that we are flexible. We have an agreement with the district. We want to make sure that facilities are adequate and we have qualified trainer. We want to try and give everything that's the best for young people and that they will develop at the maximum. If they're in music, dance, or in theater, they will develop themselves in that as well as the sport they love to practice. Our vision, what we aim on a long-term basis, is to be the best academic program throughout Francophone Canada, French Canada. I think we have something that is really well in place, and we have an agreement with the district. I think what is in place is well, it's solid, it's good. We want to improve it from year to year so that within 10 years we'll be recognized across Canada and across Atlantic as one of the best performance-wise where young people can attain their highest level. As a program, what we think we can bring to you, contribute to tomorrow's development of tomorrow's leader, develop young people. So if the young people are good in school, when they come out of university, if they find a job around Dieppe, they bring people from outside. If they attend our school and they come out of the program, if they appreciated their time here, they won't stay in the region. They'll stay here, and it brings more people here, and they'll help the economic development of the people. It will help the population to be in better health. The young people in the last few years, obesity is a big problem, and health-wise, we want to keep the young people active and to give them the taste to participate in different sports, to do something else, and also we have a positive aspects for volunteer work. We're ready to tell the people that they have to do a certain number of hours of volunteer work during the year, and it brings some kinds of maturity. It's not every children of 11, 12, 13 who want to volunteer, and if we can make them understand what it can bring them for life in general, it can certainly be a plus for you. And we help to keep the young people in the Dieppe area. A lot of young people leave. They want to study elsewhere. They use sport. They think it's better elsewhere. We want to keep it here, offer this program, and give as much Francophone students in the area and bring outside people to settle here in the area because we'll be well known. Our program will be well known. We promote the French language. The city of Dieppe is completely French, and at a provincial level, we fight for the French language. We want to have our place compared to the Anglophones. I think it would be fun to offer something of high quality for the French students of the area. If some people from the north want to move here, it's the French language that go first. They have access to this program. Maybe they would be able to go to an English school, but for them, maybe English is not as high as the people who raised in Moncton, Franklin, St. John. So we allow the young people to have a nightlife. If they're in our dance school, they practice every night. Practice are in the afternoon, so at night, when they go home, they have a free night. So they can use their time to do something else and maybe to buy groceries for the parents, give them more time to do things with their children. My father he was with me. He stopped working at 4:30, 5:45. We were out of the house and we would practice at 6 for parents. This is what it's all about in sport. We gave a chance to the parents to participate in something of high quality at night. They know that the young people have practiced already, so they can do their own life. It allows you to be part and parcel as promoters in the province. And we said in l'Acadie Nouvelle, Adrien is 20 years old. That program existed in Quebec, and he has known it for 6, 7 years. And the program it allows you to get involved, the first Francophone city that accept this program, and you are behind that program with us, maybe it can encourage other areas to adopt it for their own area, development of sports in their own area. We can offer you promotion. We have our own bus. We can put the logo of the City of Moncton. We have a calendar. During the year, we'll place the logo of the city and on the website like a sponsor if you wish. This brings me to my reason why I'm here. What can the City of Dieppe bring to us? What we're looking for? We have our own bus. We talk with the schools to see if we can find a parking for the bus. Maybe the city could have a parking where we can leave it for the night. We can go and take it in the daytime. When we don't need it, we can park it in a safe manner. The other thing also is preferential time on ice. If the first year, especially first year, since we have only one group, the costs are higher because we have less young people. The reality is there. We have a lot of registration for 2019 because a lot of parents from 6 to 8, and we'll have 40 or 50 young people for 2019. The first year, we aim 10 to 20, 10 to 15 youth. The cost will be higher because we have less children. For the first year, it would allow us to go forward so that the program is a success, and the ice can be at a better rate than what we have presently would help us. The other thing is to have a sponsor right in the arena. What we charge the sponsor, we're willing to make an agreement with you to share the profit with the City of Moncton. The last thing, it would be preferential rate in storage for the young students. They have to leave their uniform at the arena. They can't put it on the bus. They leave it in the morning. We have a storage, and we try to have a preferential rate for that also. And that's something we're looking at for the first year, to be able to store their uniform for the year. That's all. Any question? Thank you, Mathieu. Any question from the councillors? Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Worship. It seems to be an interesting program that can encourage our young people to stay in the area and perfect themselves in sports. But I note, however, that you have as partner people who are focused on hockey, the other sports. Do you have anyone else that will join you? Those that I introduced is for the hockey program that we're looking for tonight, but they have a sports for that. We have Dance Chaos, that is a school in the City of Moncton. We have a partnership with them. Golf, we have Louis Melançon. He'll take care of the golf program for the area. He will train them. And it will go start in January till June. Louis Melançon will work with them. He has his staff with him. He works at Fox Creek, and he'll take care. So soccer, we can't really reveal who it is. We have an association we're discussing with them, and the partnership will be with them. They'll take care of training, and they'll supervise generally of the program, and they'll decide how things will work out. Thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau. Mr. Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you very much, Mr. Mathieu Martin. Did I understand in your presentation you're you talk about Francophones. Do you accept Anglophones? The youth has to attend a Francophone because the agreement is with the Francophone South School District. We want to offer English program in the future. Presently, the agreement is with the Francophone School District. We'll see how it works out. And the agreement for the first year is with the South Francophone School District. But we talk about going to the English. It's hard for the curriculum, for the program, and we'll see what is credited to the young 6 to 8 what course it will replace in the classroom, because a lot of students, if they're not in school, they have to replace the subject. We have an agreement with them, and then, of course, we look ahead to join the Anglophone schools in the Moncton and Dieppe area to offer the same service within a year or two. Thank you. Thank you. Other questions? Madame Le Boutier, I would like to know where 2019, does it replace all the inter-school sports? We don't compete with them, really. Take hockey, for instance, where we're focusing is grade 6 to 8, maybe 9. But there's no grade 9. We don't interfere with them. Dance and everything else, there's no dance team. Soccer, same principle as hockey. They're only additional practice. So, soccer, Mathieu Martin, if he's a member, he cannot participate with us. Those who participate, because there would be no team in 2019, 2020. We talk about having a hockey team. We're only allowed to have 70% of our players from New-Brunswick. We have to go elsewhere and import them. So if you look at the inter-school, maybe we'll take one from L'Odyssée and one from Mathieu Martin. We've discussed with them. And to lose one player, 2 players in a year, they don't see it as a problem because they have enough young people who can play on their team. For them, it's beneficial, especially 6, 7, 8, because they will grow in our program. They get to grade 11, they can join elsewhere. We can go and get them anywhere, even if we took 1 or 2 young people. But to develop, it will make our level stronger, and it will help the young people to operate at that level. My next question has to do with, can any child subscribe? Will there be a maximum at every level? Hockey, we don't have a maximum because every children are accepted. And we will develop teams according to the number. It depends how many registration we have, and we'll form. So, like that, for instance, they know how many they can have in a group, and it's open to anybody, even the young people who are from outside, but they want to be part from the program. If the parents drive them to Mathieu Martin, they are allowed. And in 2019, I think hockey, you look at how many children do you think will subscribe? I would say in 1 week registration, we already have over 10 for 2019, this first week. And a lot of parents that we knew, and we approached them, and we have over 10 right now. So they want to make sure that they have their place reserved for 2019 for the first year, because we are limited to grade 8. We'll have 12, 15 children for the first year. And the following year, if we have 10 to 15 by level, we'll probably have 45 to 50 with these 3 levels. And hockey is male, female, yes, girl and boys. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Boutier. Councillor Cormier. As for the arts, what is the partnership that you have presently with arts? We don't really have a partnership with anyone. We're open to anything. If someone is responsible for music in Moncton or Dieppe and they want to join us to bring it in a school, we're available. We announce on Radio Canada we're starting the sports that we presently have. Hockey was easier for us to start. Dads approach us. If we knew anyone, we have a partnership with Dad Soccer, same principle. Golf with the women and so we approach them. We approach other sports also, and we are making agreements with schools. And it's impossible to accept every sport. It takes about a year for the director and the schools to put everything in order so that it can work out. But theater, music, design, or arts they want to integrate with us, and we're available. Presently, we're looking at what we can integrate, and we're not there yet. We're starting the first year, but we don't have anything to offer at the present time. So it could be small. Hey, yes. Thank you. Other question? If not, thank you very much for your presentation, Mathieu. For those who don't know Mathieu, he was also assistant trader for the Edmonton Bizarre. Congratulations for your nice season up there. Good evening, everyone. Next presentation from United Way with Mrs. Erika Cantu. Yes, I was trying to remember your family name. I didn't have it in front of me. All right, Erika Cantu. Thank you very much, and good evening to one and all. I'm Erika. I am with United Way since March. I would like to present what it means, champion of diversity, who I am, and why I hold this position. I was born in Brazil, and when I finished my studies in international studies, I went to United States, and since 2012 I've been in Canada. I love it very much. I feel at home. During my study, I work with different nationalities, and I could say I work with everybody, get to know every nationality, how we do business, the language and culture in general. I also have a diversified family. My husband is from Belgium. I'm from Brazil. I have a baby born in Canada and another one born in Belgium. So we have diversity at home, and we work for inclusion every day. We talk about different nationality, but we're in Canada. It's a third culture, and it's a bilingual culture, Acadia and Anglophone. So we really have to be open to the difference. So the position of champion of diversity is to bring the community together, to have a more inclusive community. We have a level of immigration, a big campaign to bring new people here. We're aware of the population that exists. So as champion of diversity is to give the neighbors. We will work with the neighbors, give them the power to receive newcomers. We would like for them to act as welcome wagon whenever there's a new person who arrive. We want them to receive them, welcome them, but they will help us to organize neighborhood festivities. It's a good opportunity to bring the people together as they arrive in a new place. Social habits are different. We don't do things the same way. It's important to have someone who will help us to establish a liaison between the community where we come from and the one that receives us. So I'm working with the Multicultural Association. It helps us to give a perspective of what people expect and what people have to know when they arrive here in Canada, not only for establishment, but also the people who belong to that community. The feelings of belonging to that community is very important. And the purpose is to keep them here, that they decide to move to Canada, especially in New-Brunswick. We want them to stay, economically speaking. So since I started in March, I had the opportunity to meet 21 community partners. We are working with 13 of these partners. 8 of them have activities that we could implement to give the new people who arrive, how to adapt. One of them is Lou Lag, is the social economy and innovative, and she helped in the projects. And June the 21st, we've decided with the community people, the Parkton area here in Moncton, but it's a ward that has a lot of refugees. We would like for the neighborhood get to know the newcomers so that this summer all the refugees knew that they're not terrorists, and we want to prove that they are not coming here to take our job. It's an informal meeting. It will give an opportunity for people to talk together. We know in this clinic we'll have translators because there's a language can be a challenge. We'll have people to help us with that activity. Another activity that it was yesterday, we had an activity with the University of Moncton. In the University of Moncton area, there's a lot of international students, so it's important that they come and study, but that they remain with us in this region. I am also working with Ghislaine to have an initiative to do the same thing with international students who will be arriving in September. So it's important to find them, to find members in the community here in Dieppe who are willing to receive these newcomers, these new arrivals in college and in New-Brunswick. Another activity that I had the opportunity to offer a workshop with Majenibi. Majenibi is an initiative for New Brunswick Cultural Council. She helped really to give the power to new people to make a difference in the community. In that workshop, I talk about the difference between diversity, inclusion, how we could apply every day that inclusion day to day, neighborhood, and thanks to that workshop, we have 8 young people, 4 in Dieppe, 4 in Moncton, where we will start to have a welcome committee in the school. One of the schools is Major Martin, where we find the new comers. But one of the group, they organize activities in the neighborhood to help the parents who have difficulties with students with their homework. They're open to have a team of soccer. I'm happy to help them a little bit. But the idea is to bring the community together, find initiative to get to know the neighbors. Another activity was with Alfred and Hinga. We work with the cafe also. Alfred and Hinga, I think you know Alfred better. They're from Africa. Him and Inda gives a workshop in schools, talking about diversity. They have children. It's the beauty of having a diverse environment, an inclusive one. We also want to work with new champion people who would want to make a difference in the community, to establish a liaison and to welcome newcomers, to Canada, in our province and in Canada as a whole. We also have information sessions. We equip them as much as possible so that people feel at home and that they establish that liaison between the community and the new arrival. And do you have any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Question from the councillors. No question? Okay. For Erika Cantu. We can do. It's Italian. My grandfather was Italian. No question? I have one. If I understand, it's a program through United Way. It's a program through United Way, but the money comes from the city of Dieppe, Moncton Riverview. We have initiative, but also with the program APB that helps newcomers to really get introduced to the area. Mr. Cormier? When you ask for volunteer, do you focus an age group or is it open to all ages? And the second question is, for those who want to commit as volunteers, is there a training of any kind that is given? Any age is accepted. Programs are open. Yes, there is a training. I gave the training myself to prepare the person, the individual, to be received in the community. We have to know where he or she lives. Yes, we give a training, but especially multicultural training and the difference in cultural differences. That is important. Thank you. Other questions? If not, thank you for your presentation. It's always, we know it's always a subject. There is modern, that is up to date. We know how the region and the province as a whole, we need not only that people come, but people remain, inclusion, and everything that is related to it is very important. We all know success stories, but there's also too many international youth who come here. They come to University of Moncton or community college, and they go towards Quebec. We have to work hard to try and make sure that we keep them here to continue to integrate in the community. But I think sometimes we have, I know the community college, they are very helpful to encourage the international francophones to learn English. It's very important, but I'm not sure that University of Moncton make the same effort that is done at CCNB. It's a discussion that I've had personally with some people from the University of Moncton. Normally, these young people are here for a minimum of 4 years, and sometimes they finish a master's degree. They're here for 6 years in the area, and they isolate themselves on the University of Moncton territory. They don't commit or engage, get involved in the community. Will have to make an effort with the university and make sure that they have inclusion program to have 6 years to learn enough English to be able to be operational in potential jobs. We know presently with Toronto Dominion, with TD, more than 1,000 jobs will be here. Yes, certain group are jobs of call center, but more than 400 jobs will be for people in accounting who have training in accounting, and that these are the starting salary, $65,000. We talk about reasonable salary. We have to continue to work to develop that aspect. I know the 3 mayors of the region next week will be in Toronto to meet the employees from the Toronto Dominion, from the Toronto area, to sell our region. But the last I heard, there was only 80 persons who have indicated that they were considering a transfer here. We're up to 25, even better. I'm convinced that there will be people of visible minority who will settle in our community. It's important that they be well received. With 225 potential people who we will talk to, we can all convince them to settle in our region. I know some developers will be happy to start building houses again in the area. That being said, thank you for your presentation. We have a lot of opportunities, and maybe there will be an opportunity for you to cooperate with us in these efforts when people arrive in the region, because they won't be immigrants, but there'll be people who will feel like immigrants when they arrive in the region, because it's a cultural shock, whether you want it or not, to leave a city like Toronto and to come here. For them, it will be a cultural shock. We're from 20 million in Brussels, 1 million when we move. But there is a program with the University of Moncton, CAFE. It's called Ready. It's to help international students to learn English. That's one problem they had, to find a job once they were done with the university. They are starting initiative, and it's important bilingual. It's the reality of our area. A unilingual francophone person would have a hard time to find a job no matter where. A bilingual person, much more, and anglophone, unilingual anglophone, there's still place, but unilingual French, forget it. But when you speak another language, you have to understand the whole culture. I was happy to help. Thank you very much. Thank you, and good evening. Thank you. Our next presenter, Mrs. Angel Spencer, who will talk about speed moderation, car speeding. Mrs. Spencer, our Director for Engineering Services for the City of Dieppe. Good evening, Your Worship, members of Council. I'm happy to be here tonight, continue the discussion on a problem that is happening on our street. The more the streets are in good state, the faster people drive, so it continues to be a problem. Just an overview of the presentation, a policy that exists since 2013, what we did in 2017, new manual of Canadian Transportation Association, and what we are proposing for 2018. As you will remember, in 2013, the City of Dieppe adopted a speed moderation policy. The city has to consider to implement actions or ways of slowing the speed. The one that exists presently is to receive a request of 67% of residents from the street, and there must be an over speed limit of 10% at least. And the debit of vehicle at the present time, we have 1,000 car on residential street per day and 8,000 on the collector street. As we will see at the end, we propose to bring changes to these figures. So it's important that the people who live on the street agree with the action proposed. Otherwise, it can certainly bring about other complaints. In 2017, the city acquired a new signs, speed signs. The other picture says your speed. We installed them at 4 places on the Foxweek Road, on Melanson Road, on Venice Street, and Central Street. So in fact, on these streets, there were excessive speeding on these different streets. The speed sign installation had an effect, but less. About 3% reduction in speed. So it increases, it make the people aware of the speed they are driving. But those who go very fast, it probably have an effect to slow down. That's what it does. But those who go slightly over the limit, it has a lesser effect. So two of the area we noticed a reduction of 3 kilometers per hour of reduction. At two other places, it was negligible. The other thing that we did in 2017, as you noticed, it was the installation of signs at the. It's not an intersection; it's a pedestrian crossing. So what we did after installing the sign, the speed limit, the reduction speed limit was not very much, but it did increase the attention of the crosswalk. There was one near Central and at the crosswalk on Vanier, and we added the fourth one since we received complaints that crossing people didn't have a tendency to stop for pedestrians since there are big trees on each side. Maybe it was not as visible. So we chose to install a fourth one on Charlottesville near Maxima Street. We also installed a small trailer at the school zone, and to make people realize how fast they're driving in the school zone. The other thing is we added, as you know, new one of the measure that is recommended, and I think this is very effective, and in the future we will look at the at signs on the also a four-way stop on Melanson at Fox Creek level. It has a positive effect on the speed, but as I said before, the justification has to be there. If we have three-way stop or four-way start with not much traffic, people have a tendency not to stop because when they arrive, there's nobody. In this case, it was justified, so it has a positive effect on the speed. So last fall, we talked about the new guide from the Canadian Transport Association. It dates from February. We've only had it a few months ago. We started our analysis. We didn't have a chance to analyze it fully. What's in it? The last guide was dated 1998. In this one, they added the secondary street in the old gate guide. There were only the collector streets. They list a lot of options that we see here. I don't expect you to be able to read them, but for each green point that is a benefit, there are red points that are inconvenience, disadvantage. So it's for big trucks, emergency vehicles, sometimes the noise. There's no miracle recipe at the end of the day. This is what the chart shows you. There's no slowing down in the speed that has a disadvantage for 2018. You've probably seen it. We put some signs at the pedestrian crossing. Sometimes it's very simple what can be done at Belfort. We will paint the yellow line since they are curved. If you speed, you have a tendency not to remain in your lane. By painting the line yellow, you have a feeling there's less speed, and it can have the effect of slowing the speed. Also in Champlain, on the eastern limit of the city, following a complaint that was received by the council, we noticed that there were signs missing, so 8 signs were installed at 1 kilometer apart. And very shortly, we will install the signs that will indicate the speed on that same street. Also this year, we are building a new signs on Gauvin and College. This will help on that street. And the other thing, a question that was asked a few meetings ago about the permanent signs. We thought about it. What we're proposing is to install them at the entrance of the city when the speed limit change on Champlain Street As we enter the city from the eastern limit, the speed go from 80 to 70 kilometers an hour. So we are proposing to install one on Melanson. It goes from 70 to 50 kilometers, and on Amilo Street, on the northerly direction, goes from 80 to 60 kilometers an hour. So it will sensitize the people who are entering the municipality. We also check on Dover Road. The limit is already 60. There's no change of speed limit. So these are the three places that we are proposing because of the fact that there is a change in the speed limit. The other thing is we propose to come back to you for the adoption of a revised policy. We didn't think was reasonable if the people see that there is a problem with the speed, to go and see all the neighbors, collect 2/3 of the people to ask us to study the speed. So what we are proposing is to measure the speed. If there is a problem, then we'll go to the next step. The other thing is, on our collector streets, we have very few of them that had 8,000. So I don't know why that figure was used, but we intend to reduce the number of 8,000. So here, I want to ask to add a chart or table. I didn't have time saying the higher the speed is, the higher, the more severe is the accident. At 80 kilometers an hour, a pedestrian who is hit by a car has very little chance of surviving. We talk with the communication department is to have an awareness campaign from Facebook and whatnot to sensitize the people to these statistics and to realize that there are serious consequences when we speed on those streets. The other thing is, in the guide, the first action they are proposing is education and enforcement to involve the RCMP. I know the manpower is limited, but these are the first actions. If that doesn't work, then proceed with more advanced measures. Action. This is basically my presentation. Question from councillors. Mr. Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. The lights come on like a Christmas tree on this issue. Thank you, Your Worship. My question does not deal with the report. Thank you for the report. But it's Rue du Marquet, Michael Street on Saturday morning. For 2 Saturday, cars are coming, and it's hard to believe, full speed on the small Market Street. There's no crosswalk, nothing indicated. I would say that 98% of the cars respect the pedestrian that are crossing the other Saturday. We almost got hit, and the young boy who was coming with the car, he was not inclined to slow down to let us go by. He even saluted us, make them the sign, the finger sign. There's about 5,000 citizens, or I wonder if we should not install a crossing, a pedestrian crossing, and the people on Chartersville and on other street that seem to slow down. I don't know if it would be more cumbersome than beneficial, but lines to help the pedestrian crossing would not cost us much and would not hurt anyone. I don't know if I'm the only one that is witness of this program, of this problem, I should say. Before someone is hit and we be in trouble, I realize a lot of people cross that area. Unfortunately, does not respect the standard. If with the curve, it does not respect the distance for the vehicle to have a chance to react. I realize people are crossing. We don't want to encourage them to cross. and especially during the weekdays, maybe there's something to do specifically for those days, maybe cones or something on the street, or even to close the street because there's other way of traveling. It's not encouraged to paint or have a crossing at that area. If I may, there's 94 parking, and that's where the people park to attend the market because in front there's not much parking. If the lines for the crossing are not acceptable according to the standards, there must be other things that the city can take to slow the speed on Saturday morning. It's a good point. Really, we always want to take the shortest distance, but people should walk as far as the crossing that is slightly further down. But Mr. Burido, thank you, Worship, thank you, Madam. It's an issue that really touches us all. And I live on Gaspé and Gold. There are signs that indicate the speed. There's stop, but it's as if the people don't see the stop. I don't know why. I notice that every week. It's not to complain that I'm bringing this subject, but something has to be done before we have a major accident. I went to Fredericton on the weekend. I was in a residential area with my son. The first thing that struck me when I entered that new area, small yellow signs saying, "Let's protect our children." As I saw that, I had a reaction. I slowed down. I said, maybe this is what people need to wake up the people at a given area, to really sensitize the people to reduce their speed. I noticed since last Wednesday in my area, it's full of truck and tractors. They are destroying the street to redo it. The mayor said it himself. When we build new streets, what happens afterwards? I don't want to see. I can't imagine what will happen. But I say, damn it. Somewhere, sometimes, I will see people get hit. We have schools everywhere in Dieppe, and our children will travel in these streets. And we have to bring drastic measures. It's very good that I mentioned to the police officer to check on the area. We see them go by once a day. And those who are to speed, they know the white cars with lines on it. Once they're gone, they speed up. That's my 5 cents. I share the same concern as you, sir. Of course, people, as we mentioned, seem to be more distracted or more hurry to do awareness. We all have a responsibility to obey the speed limit. But when it comes to the children, that's when we have more success. So in cooperation with the communication department, if we can have signs, let's protect our children. My daughter walks to school every morning and I say, cars are not careful, you be careful. When I'm surprised in Fredericton, it was written in French. I said, oh. I imagine my reaction was, it must be a French area. But anyway, it was, very easily to read it. We should adopt these ourselves. Okay. I think often these signs is the initiatives of parents from the neighborhood. I see some on Gulf Street because Gulf Street, quite often, it's a street where there's not much traffic, but when they go down the hill, they drive fast. As Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Worship. I don't have a question. I simply want to congratulate you for the initiative for 2018, especially Champlain Street at the eastern limit of the city. Installation of 8 signs of speed sign. Are they already installed? Yes. I didn't receive any calls, that's why. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's settled. And the temporary installation of the signs, that's a very good idea, very good initiative, and everything else that you've mentioned. Congratulations. Mr. Goodette, thank you, Worship. A few comments and a question at the end. First of all, the whole issue of percentage of the traffic, if it's less than 10%, less than 5%, I find these are ways of measuring that are very disappointing. If you have 2 cars that go through an area at 95 kilometers an hour, even if only 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, it's a problem. One of the problem is that the police don't patrol the wards or the area unless we ask them, and it seems to be special, a favor that they're doing for us. In the documents that you have mentioned, especially the study, I look at the green points and the yellow points. I look at it over the weekend and I notice that the green points, the more important one in the whole study, they call it vertical deflection. In other words, we look at ways of slowing down the speed of people. So it includes what we see in the entrance to a schoolyard. It could include 3-way stop or 4-way stop. In other words, it becomes a physical obstacle and not educational obstacle with signs and whatnot. My impression is if we don't go at this, that's where we miss it all. There are places where they had these vertical obstruction and it solved the problem. There are places, all kind of environment where you don't have a choice, you have to slow down, otherwise your car will jump 2 feet in the air. The last point, what I find somewhat, is it unacceptable? I don't know. You will study if there is a problem. Is it a problem with the report or with the traffic? In my opinion, we don't need to study that there is a problem with the traffic. The problem is there. How to deal with it? We'll waste another year with a study before we do something in 2019. That's not what I meant by studying. When we have a complaint, we'll go and measure if there is a problem with speed limit. Sometimes I see some people and I say they're going fast, but when I go 40, it seems fast when you're on a local street. So we've had complaint on street where we measure and there was not necessarily excess in the speed limit. And there can be 1 or 2, unfortunately, people who live close to these places, but I didn't want to say spend another year to study, but to measure the speed. I should have said measure the speed. That's what we did last year. We measured last year. If we look at the study, the state, if we want to have the maximum of benefit, we have to find physical resolution. And I don't disagree with you, but sometimes physical measures are those that have the most disadvantage, especially for snow removal or ambulance service. We need a balance. I would rather see a slowdown in snow removal by 30 seconds than to have accidents of people who travel at 90 kilometers an hour. And it happens. It happens. Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Worship. In the past, did we look at slowing the speed to 40 kilometers an hour in local street? Yes. We had a discussion in 2013. From what I was able to find, that's why the policy was implemented, because there was a request by the residents to reduce the speed. Statistics show that the fact of reducing to 40 kilometers an hour does not change the behavior of the people. There's very little positive effect to change the speed limit. A lot of people have the mentality, I can drive 10 kilometers over the limit, 40 to go 50 is one thing. If you have 50, they'll go 60. But in the study, if there was a positive aspect to look at reducing the speed, from what I've read so far, it says the same thing. The effect leaves to be desired. You still drive normal speed. Well, it's like Councillor Gadet said, it would be to discourage them to speed. Thank you. Of course, physical changes have an impact, but it's to measure the effectiveness, the efficiency, I should say. But one thing that was not mentioned and that I saw elsewhere, the yellow line in the middle, if there is a rumble, when a person changed lane by accident, it brings them back at least, has a tendency to slow down the car. But there's no doubt that the answer would have to come from the RCMP. And as we all know, quite often what happens is when offenses, they're the local people who are there. They're local people. I only need one person to be an exception, but that's what happens. This weekend, yesterday, it was beautiful outside. The motorcycles on Charlottesville, I can tell you, they were driving. They were driving fast. And I didn't have any way of measuring, but by my experience, they were going fast. Charlottesville, if you leave Amiro and you go past Pascal, if you want to stop at Pascal, it's a long way. And we had to stop on Fortune a long time ago. People did not respect that stop sign. They were just going through it. That's why recommendations are in the development of not having any straight line more than 800 meters or so many meters. And if I may, as to the rumble strip, we see that on the main highways where there's residences that can create noises. There's no final answer. It remains a problem, and enforcement. Make sure that the RCMP be more present. We have a lot of members of RCMP who live in Dieppe. We should encourage them to go and eat at home, take a coffee at home, and travel in their neighborhood, and it would probably help to have more visibility, number one, but also to give out tickets. Since I did that kind of job in my life, I recognize they can't always be where we want them all the time. Nothing else. So we thank you very much. If you have no final comments, thank you. No. We continue to work. If there was any easy solution, we would have found them. Physical measures present challenges. for the snow removal and bicycles, and we have all these arguments that can be part of the discussion. We'll continue to think about it, but we'll continue to ask the RCMP to increase the patrol. One of the things that is coming to correct is the kind of camera and the light camera the light. I don't know if it's because we're working on that file with the city of New-Brunswick, and we're encouraging the provincial government to allow us to install red light. Some studies have been made in Edmonton, in Alberta, and they prove to be very efficient because of all the savings that there is. It's not only to send tickets to those who go through a red light, and it's not only the offenses because people don't pay the tickets, but when they go to renew their driver's license, it's pay up. It's the time to pay the piper. But the other thing is also to calculate the savings in the reductions of accidents there are, and less time for the officers and the firemen to go on the scene. There's that whole access that we seem to forget. There's a lot of savings in that sense. So it's a file that we're working with the association, Cities Association and the province of New Brunswick. We had a minister with Mr. Landry of the Minister of Public Security, and there seems to be some interest that from the province to change it. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Godet. One last intervention. Since you mentioned the RCMP, let's not forget that the RCMP, they discontinued the traffic division. It does not exist anymore as a work. They're more focused on crime. And last year, when I asked the question to the superintendent, he told us there were 54 offenses, speeding offenses for the whole year, and most of them, and the greatest majority, was on Amiro Street and Champlain and Acadie Street. It means that there are 20 persons in 12 months who were caught for speeding in the wards, in the neighborhood. Thank you. Thank you. And if there's no one else, good evening, everybody. We will